Okay, we've never started off the show like that,
This
but
is
we were
why
laughing
this is why
before.
off-air conversations, when they leak into on air, and they confuse people, this is what happens.
I just couldn't keep a straight face. I said I was going to keep a straight face and have like, a smooth opening, but that's not going to happen today, clearly. And that's okay, though, because we're excited that you're joining the Mandatory Live on this Thursday morning. Thank you so much for rocking with us. And if you like the content, hit that like and subscribe button. Also, just hit that like button because it helps the channel grow. And you can also find us on the audio side, guys. So wherever you get your podcast shows, make sure to look us up on there, leave a rate and review, give us a 5-star because that helps the show grow. And a good friend of the show, Jesus, saying happy Thursday as well. Already, we're going to get to everything, guys. We're going to get into the Usyk Fury preview, Jaime Munguia being knocked out. But before we get into all that, Brian, I think once again, we have to thank all of our subscribers, everyone that joins us on the
Yes.
show in these chats, just like our friend Jesus there, because guys, we have hit over 2,000 subscribers. And we just want to say thank you so much for those who've been rocking with the show from the very early days when we were heavy on interviews with boxers. Thank you so much. It's grown so much in terms of doing these live shows, post-fight shows. And Brian, it's really all because of everyone that joins us on the show.
Yeah, and obviously we put in a lot of work, but the fans have put in a lot of work too. Like to have over 2K, and we don't promote the show like that, like the way some other people do, very aggressively or whatever the case may be. Like we just kind of want to let the show and the work and the community around the show speak for itself. So wanted to reiterate that, and we're well over 2K now. So onward and upward. Very excited about what we're gonna do in 2025. I think it's gonna be a really, really good year for the show. We got some fun plans that will extend beyond the show, but obviously we're gonna hope that you guys continue to rock with us and see this channel continue to grow.
For sure. We're all going to grow together, most importantly. And we just want to say thank you so much because honestly, it's a blessing to be over 2K. We really didn't have a blueprint, Brian, I guess you could say, on how we were going to do this. We used to work at a prominent sports book together, and we would get like sometimes 3 minutes to talk about a massive fight. And we would be like, we want to talk about this fight. We want to talk about this fight. And sometimes they give us like 7-8 minutes.
Yeah.
And our time there was up. So then we decided that we were going to continue on with doing this, but like have our own show. And, we've done some MMA stuff before as well. But
Yeah.
I think we fully were just like, yo, we're going to rock with focusing on boxing.
They wanted
And
us to do more MMA too, because they're like, "Oh, UFC is more popular," and we're
yeah.
like, "Yeah, but boxing's better." And
Yeah. And it's not that we don't also appreciate MMA. And I also think our UFC stuff on there was dope.
Yeah,
And even the stuff we did on here, but I think we just both love boxing a little bit too much to not just focus on just boxing.
yeah.
Because we also still feel like it's kind of hard to cover for some people. Like it's not covered properly. I know in Canada it's not covered
It's
at
not.
all.
It's not here either.
Yeah, it's not like
Just because
there's
it's covered a lot, not a lot, but just because it's covered doesn't mean it's covered well. And then with MMA, it's
yeah,
like we're both bigger boxing people. There are
yeah,
other people like this is why, like for example, like I don't really cover too much of the NFL. I just think that there are other people who care way more about it and who are going to do a better job. There's like you can find UFC coverage that's in depth that will
yeah.
care to go more in depth than we do. We want to talk about everything honestly, but we're here to talk about boxing and we're going to do that in today's show. But wanted to reiterate our thank yous in case people missed it last time.
Yeah, sorry that went a little bit long. That's what happens on this show. We say we're going to come on for like 30 minutes. We end up doing like an hour and a half. So, you know what? Let's just get started, Brian. I think we should probably start off with the big fight that we're waiting for, the rematch, because the first one was so close
Mm,
that we got to break it down again. Oleksandr Usyk and Tyson Fury, number 2, the rematch, straight up on the money line. Oleksandr Usyk a minus 138. And if you're thinking Tyson Fury avenges the loss, you could bet on him plus 110. There is some value there. Before we get into the breakdown, how we see the fight going, if it's going to be similar to the first fight, I want to ask you about the money line
yeah.
and the odds, Brian.
Yeah.
You feel like that's pretty fair. Also, guys, keep the comments coming. Let us know who you got in this fight and why. But Brian, Usyk minus 138, Fury plus 110. I personally feel like that's a pretty good line. Your thoughts?
There's more of a disparity at certain other books. Like I'm looking at another one right now where Usyk is minus 150, Fury is plus 120. And there was another one that I saw last night. We'll see if it changed, but it was Usyk was in that minus 165 range and Tyson Fury was closer to like plus 130-ish or so, which if you watch the first fight, I kind of get that. There are more people than I realized thought that Usyk kind of dominated that fight, which I did not see at all. I thought Usyk won the fight, definitely. I had it live, if you remember, 114, 113 going his way. After rewatching it a couple of different times, I kind of feel like 115, 112, maybe a little bit more fair to the work that Usyk was doing. But at the same time, I think Tyson Fury dominated like rounds 4 to 7, like in the middle is where he really had his stride. Maybe dominated is a little strong, but like that's where he really hit his rhythm. And then Usyk caught him in round 8, which he had been setting up for the entire fight before that. Like he had been, I'm gonna, get inside, land these looping shots, make Tyson Fury uncomfortable. He was able to do that at other points before round 8, but round 8 was where he really clipped them, and obviously eventually scored the knockdown, which I believe was in round 9. And Usyk, a lot of people would say swept those last 5 rounds, or at least won 4 of them. I would say he at least won 4 of them. Um, you could talk me into a sweep, but ultimately Usyk won the fight. Now this one, I don't want a money line bet in this fight because there could be, and we'll get to the actual bets and predictions and things like that. A lot of things can just happen in this fight. And this is boxing. I would be lying if I said I didn't think there was incentive for Tyson Fury to win the Force Trilogy. Like you always have to account for that scenario in this sport.
Yeah, already looking into this because the first fight, guys, it was very close. I had Usyk winning. I picked Usyk, but really, I think you and I had the same scorecard 114, 113. And to be quite honest with you, I think if the judges thought that Fury won another round, it would have gone to Fury. Like that's how close the fight was. But I think Usyk did enough, and I think the right guy won. Now, because I know it's boxing, because I know it's a moneymaker, because I know everyone cares about this fight, because
Mhm.
it's such a good fight. The first one could have been a draw.
It would have
It,
been if not for the
yeah,
knockdown.
yeah, it could have been
Statistically,
a draw. Like like I think people would have possibly sat down and been like, you know what? Because there was no robbery in that fight. It
no,
was
but
a
I think a lot
very,
of people
very
would have been pissed if it was a
yeah.
draw.
Yeah, a lot of people wouldn't, but there was no robbery. But I do feel like some people felt like Tyson Fury also won. Like there was a little bit of there was some controversy, but I thought the right guy won. Now, in
Mhm.
terms of boxing and being a boxing fan, I think there's two things that could possibly happen in this fight. Well, three things. Tyson Fury winning because then we get a trilogy and it makes everyone a lot of money and the fans are going to watch it.
Mhm.
Number 2, I feel like it could be a split decision because it's so close.
We'll get to that.
And I also feel like there could be a draw, which would also give us
We'll
a
get to
trilogy
that
fight.
too.
These are all possibilities, but I actually think the line is pretty fair. We're going to break things down on how we think the fight is going to go, but I don't think that Usyk should be like a heavy favorite against Fury because I think Fury still has a chance in this fight because the first one was so close. Also, guys, drop your comments. Let us know your thoughts on the first fight, who you have winning in the second fight. But I actually like this line. And if you were rocking with Fury in the first fight, I would take a look at his odds and probably bet on him because there is some value there. Like even on the money line, I'm not going to bet this fight on the money line. I have an actual pick for this fight. And Brian, let's just get right into it. How do you see this fight going, the second one? And are we going to see a different outcome?
Hmm. I have 3 bets that I like for this fight. I don't know if this is gonna answer your question. I mean, it will, but it won't give you a satisfying answer, but this is one of those fights where I always say this, if it's projected to be this close, you have to sprinkle on the draw. The draw is plus 1,800 at one prominent sports book, plus 1,800. Like, I'll put a little something on that just in case. And this is the one, well, I should say these are the 2 that I'm most interested in betting on. One book has either by split decision plus 450, and that same book has either by majority decision plus 900. Now, you would think that this is a merit-based sport, and if Usyk just like I almost feel like Usyk has to dominate to get a fair shake in this fight. Like people were saying that they think Turk is gonna put in a call to get Fury to fight if it's
I
closer than
don't I
anything.
don't think like here's the thing, like Turk's given us all these fights and stuff like that. I don't think it's rigged like that. I don't think boxing is rigged like that. I just think when you think about the business standpoint of it, like even for the judges, like what we saw between Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev,
Oh god.
like something like that, right? Where at the same time,
That
like
was bullshit. That decision was
I
bullshit. I'm
okay,
still
listen,
pissed about that one.
okay, so when it came to that fight, I did say, yo, bet on Beterbiev decision plus 700, and it was right. And I was like, yo, my bet's right. But in my heart, from what I saw in that fight, I thought Bivol won. But also, there was controversy, Brian, because a lot of people thought that Beterbiev won and it was close. So people like were like, no, you can't call it a robbery. It was really, really close, but we don't know how the judges are scoring it. Going back to Fury Usyk in the first fight, it was a really tough fight to score. Like there were some rounds that were swing rounds in that fight. So that's why I think this one's going to be very hard to score. And I also feel like, listen, there's a chance Fury could win this one because of how close it could be. And the fact it could be a split, the fact it could be a draw, any one of those things.
Yeah. It's gonna be another one of these fights that ultimately, because it's judging, it comes down to preference. And we should actually talk about the judging a little bit. But this is gonna come down to preference, where the preference clearly from the judges in, or for the majority of the judges in the Better BF Bivol fight was aggression, was Beterbiev, just pressuring his way to a win, despite the fact that he was getting pieced up on the inside, and Dimitri Bivol was making him look stupid at times. And then in the preference against, or in the fight between Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, the second time in particular, the preference was clearly counterpunching because Amanda Serrano had the aggression in Texas in a sport that has rewarded aggression in the past on the cards, and Amanda Serrano was getting countered. Not to the degree that I think she should have lost the fight necessarily, but the judges ended up rolling with Katie Taylor unanimously. And these are two fights that a large swath of the public would disagree on a decision for different reasons. And this is why I think ultimately it's going to come down to preference, because these are two examples, recent examples, where in one case with Beterbiev versus Bivol, I would say, and a lot of other people would say, that the aggressive fighter won. And usually in robberies, it feels like the aggressive fighter will get the benefit of the doubt because they're aggressive, even though I think that's bullshit if you're getting outboxed. And then in the other example with Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, the second time especially, a lot of people felt like Amanda Serrano should have won the fight because of her aggression, and Katie Taylor ends up winning the fight because of, I guess, outboxing Amanda Serrano. Which in that one, that's tough for me to agree with, right? So in this one, I don't know what the judges' preferences are going to be, and there's also going to be an AI judge that's not going to be factored into the decision.
Can,
But I
can,
know,
can we please get into that?
yeah, you wanted to go in about this, but just to reiterate real quick from betting standpoint, either
Okay,
by
yes.
for me, either by majority decision plus 900, either by split decision plus 450, and a draw at plus 1800. I don't feel comfortable taking a side here. I would lean Usyk. I would lean Usyk because he's just all around better, but we don't know how Tyson Fury is going to be after a loss. And I think Tyson Fury could legitimately win this fight if he can remain upright, but we'll see. I feel like he's going to be a little bit more tentative than he's letting on.
So I thought Fury actually boxed pretty well in the first fight. I mean, he did get dropped, and I think that's one of the things that we have to focus on. Fury is getting older. In boxing, you never really know when it's going to hit you when you kind of just lose it. We kind of just see it unfold in the ring where we end up being like, yo, I think that's it. Like that's what happens as a boxing fan, right? Tyson Fury, I'm not saying that he's lost it, but I'm saying that he's got a lot of miles on his body. He's been in wars,
Yeah.
some absolute wars.
Mhm.
And listen, you could even say the Usyk fight was a war because it was so close. Like this was a great fight that we had. It was early in the year. It was one of my favorite fights of the year, and it was back and forth, and it was really, really close. Now, when I take a look at how these guys box in the first fight, I rode with Usyk. I think he's more skilled. I think he moves around the ring really well. I think he uses his jab well. I think he's a great body puncher. And people don't want to say that he has power, but yo, he dropped Tyson Fury. And I think that also has to do with how many times Fury has already been dropped in his career. Now, I think Usyk gets it done again. Like we can talk about, being a boxing fan, being the fact that we see robberies in boxing, knowing that they can make a lot of money with the trilogy fight. I just think overall Usyk is the best heavyweight in the world, and he's going to be able to get it done again. And I think people could argue in that first fight that Tyson Fury did take a few rounds straight, like depending on 3 rounds straight, 4 rounds straight, whatever it was. Like he had a run in that first fight, but I think Usyk, his IQ is so good that he knows where he is in the fight. I think Usyk is going to get off to a great start. I think he's going to move around the ring. I think he's going to use his jab really well. I think he's going to be able to land and cause problems for Fury. And then Fury will turn it up again in the mid rounds. But I think Fury has to actually have a dominant performance against someone like Usyk, because Usyk, the way he boxes is beautiful. He's just so smart, and I think he's going to be able to cause problems for Fury again. I do see it being very close. Now, I could go with split decision, majority decision, but normally I'm not a safe better. You guys know that. I always take like a ridiculous bet. And I don't mind because sometimes it hits, like better be of decision. Like that was a plus 700 for me in this fight, because I am rocking with Usyk again. Overall, I think right now, when you take a look at both Tyson Fury and Usyk, I just think Usyk is the better boxer all around. And he hasn't been in the same type of wars Tyson Fury has been in. And I don't know how Tyson Fury is going to look. He looked great in his last fight, but we all know that at this point, it's also about the bread, right? Like these guys are making probably the most bread they've ever made in a fight. So for me, I know it's not like a sexy bet, but it's a plus 187 to bet on Oleksandr Usyk by decision, and that's what I'm rocking with. To me, that is the best and safest bet to take. And I know that's not my style, but that's going to be my style for this bet, for this fight, because I feel like it's going to be kind of similar to the first fight, but I think Usyk's going to look better, Brian. I really think Usyk's going to look even better in this fight, because going into the first one, I think there was a lot of people rocking with Fury, and people thought Usyk was too small to get it done against him, but he showed that he wasn't, and now he's got the IQ of fighting against Fury. So I actually think he wins more rounds in this one. I think it could be like a 116, 112 type of fight for Usyk and him winning by decision. That's who I'm rocking with. I do want to get into some comments, because Jesus had some comments. He said Shantelle better be of one with conviction, no robbery versus Beevil.
Disagree.
Yeah, you know what, Jesus? I was saying it was a robbery because I thought Beevil dominated. Like I don't even know how many rounds straight that I gave him, but I know a lot of people thought Better BF also won
I don't know
fairly,
as
like
many
Jesus
people.
is saying.
I don't
Yeah,
know
but
as
I
many
was on
people.
Twitter and people were like riding me pretty hard. They were like, no, it wasn't a robbery and this and that. Listen, Better BF's Canadian now. I was happy. All right. I won my bet. He's Canadian. I'm rocking with him. Even in the next fight, I'm still gonna rock with Better BF. I think he gets it done again. And we're gonna get into that as well, because there's an injury issue and that's been postponed.
Of course
But
there is, because Artur Beterbiev always gets hurt. I think
also
Dimitri Bivol won that like 8 rounds to 4 or something along those lines.
Jesus Beevil did not
I
outbox
don't I,
Better BF.
I don't
We're
want to
gonna
relitigate this fight necessarily though,
yeah,
because Jesus also had comments on Usyk and
yes.
Fury. So the wars thing is true. Like Fury, here's the thing: Usyk doesn't have as many pro fights, and Usyk has also dominated more of his fights than Tyson Fury has, and he's been in fewer wars. Like he hasn't taken as
Yeah.
much punishments. Like he's been in tough fights. Like the fight with Derek Chisora ended up being a little bit tougher than people expected, and obviously in cruiserweight he was challenged multiple different times. And someone say the Daniel Dubois fight because he got dropped, quote unquote. I mean, it depends on what sort
I
of
mean, look
camera
at
you
Daniel
look at that.
Dubois now, though. Now we're looking at Daniel Dubois like, whoo, you know what
That
I
win
mean?
aged
Like,
very well. But yeah, so it's not about age. Like I think I think Usyk may even be older, but to
I
me,
think so,
it's
yeah.
it's mainly about the damage Tyson Fury has taken. Like his fights were with Deontay Wilder were all wars, and he was dropped several times across 3 fights, and he had also been dropped a couple of times before that, most famously against Steve Cunningham in New York City, and like he got dropped against Usyk also. Like Usyk's never been down other than Other than the Daniel Dubois time, which I don't. That may have been a low blow, may have not been, whatever the case may be. That's
I didn't think it was a low blow. I didn't think so, but they gave it to him. I was nervous in that fight for Usyk because
I,
remember there was a little bit of a layoff when he came into that fight,
I
and
want you to talk about the AI judge real quick, but I also want to bring up I mean, Usyk to win by technical knockout. I'm looking at plus 450 right now.
I'm not taking that. I'm not
Me
taking that
neither,
because
but Tyson Fury's older. He's been dropped several different times, and he almost got stopped. He almost got stopped last time in the first fight.
this is true.
It's
This
not
is
nothing
very
to
true.
me. Like there's a real world where that happens. I'm probably not betting on it, but that's the thing, Jesus, to put a bow on that point. Like, it's not about age, it's more about wear and tear. And it's more about the fights, the actual fights that they've had. Whereas Usyk has boxing clinics. Tyson Fury has had some as well, but he's also been in some wars and has been dropped several different times. Like Deontay Wilder almost ended him multiple times, probably more than just multiple, probably several times across their trilogy. So Deontay Wilder's the hardest puncher of our generation. Say what you want.
And I mean, when I was talking about my breakdown, I talked about the wars, and I hate to say this, but it's also one of those things where it's like it's the sad reality of it, but like how many years did those fights take off of Fury's
Mm,
life? It's the truth,
mm.
right? Because there were absolute wars. Now, let's get into the AI thing because I think this is the most interesting thing. And Ryan Hong, we do see your comments. We're going to get into it a little bit later. Brian, there was going to be an AI judge for the first time ever. For the
Not gonna be
first
part of
time
the
ever.
official. Not gonna be part of the official scoring. We got to reiterate that. But still, AI judge.
Yeah. So how do you feel about this?
Uh, I mean, like, listen, AI is worrisome, but I like to a point. Like, I use Chat GPT. It helps. Um, but I don't know if it can. I don't know how well AI is going to be at judging boxing. Like, there's so many non-analytical elements that you need to just watch and not just study from like a numbers perspective. Like, this is gonna be in large part another version of in basketball where we have this debate all the time: analytics versus hooper shit, so to speak. Like, are the numbers ruining the game and the edges and things like that? The AI judge, I mean, we'll see, but I wondered, like, aren't you just going to factor in punch stats more than anything else? But we'll see. I mean, they promise like it's going to be, oh, it's going to review this, that, and the third, but like there are human elements of the sport that need to be taken into account, and I don't know how well AI is going to be at capturing everything that really goes into judging a fight. That being said, it's not like the judges have been awesome, so I don't know.
For me, I hate this. I hate this because I don't know how it's going to be in boxing. When it comes to statistical shit, okay, I'm with it, right? Because it's going to be counting punches, all that great. But sometimes we don't actually know how the judge is scoring. Like you talk about like humans making mistakes, that being a factor in sports. I love that,
Me too.
right? I absolutely love that. But in terms of having a real AI judge, I don't know if I like that, Brian.
I think, like, okay, we talked about this with umpires. We actually disagree on this. You want there to be robot umpires in baseball.
So, okay, here's the thing. I am still extremely pissed off about the 2017 World Series. Okay, because number one, the Dodgers should have won that. The Astros cheated. Like
You
I
got a
don't.
World
Okay,
Series.
it doesn't matter when the Stars do. They cheated, right? They should have been stripped. That this is a whole nother argument that I'm going to be mad about for like the rest of my life. I'm
Okay.
gonna be like an old lady and I'm gonna be like telling my grandkids, the Astros cheated against the Dodgers in 2017. Anyways, not the point, but I remember watching a few games and I was like, where is the strike zone? Like, and I do this in baseball all the time. Like in a regular season game, whenever they play the Padres, and just like it, just in general, I always do this in baseball, especially when it comes to the postseason. Where is the strike zone? Like, where is it? Like, where is it today? right? Because I'm at home and I'm like, that's a strike. And so I hate umpires during the postseason. I know they have a really tough job, but when the strike zone is all over the place, like that pisses me off. So I do want to implement AI in baseball. And maybe that's the only sport that I'm okay with having AI, because it's like the strike zone pisses me off so much. Now in boxing, it's entirely different. Like I don't know how this AI judge is going to score anything. So I'm nervous, right? Because I think for boxing, you need a real person to see what's going on. But at the same time, what if this AI judge is perfect in scoring this bout? Like what if the AI judge has what I
I
have?
think that's the
Right? So
thing.
that's a possibility where I'm like, okay, I'm not mad at that. But there's also a possibility where this AI judge is not very smart.
It's gonna be like it's not gonna be perfect because it's going to be subjective in some way, shape, or form. Like, however this fight goes, unless it ends in a knockout, there are going to be people who think that whoever lost won. It's just gonna be one of those fights. Unless somebody just gets their fucking ass whooped. Like, but we're projecting this to be pretty close. Like, if it's anything less than 9 rounds to 3, there are going to be people who think the loser should have won or whatever. So I think people are going to be pissed off at the AI judge, probably regardless, but we'll see. I just wonder if it's going to take anything into account beyond just punch stats. It says
I,
it
I
is,
think
but I don't know.
I think the only thing it can really do is like stats. Like, don't we have CompuBox? We don't need it, right? I think the fear of this is also like losing real people in places like this. Like this
Everywhere.
is, yeah, not just in boxing, but that's gonna be a scary thing that happens within the next 5-10 years, and it's already happening with AI. Like a lot of us are gonna lose our jobs. Like let's be serious, it's gonna be in media too. Like there's like how there's like Instagram models that are AI now, and people are like men are falling in love with these like AI models, and they think
Yeah.
they're, yeah, like this is a real thing. Like people have AI girlfriends and boyfriends. Like this is like a real weird thing. Did you ever see that Simpsons episode where they like they go into virtual reality all the time? Like the Simpsons like kind of predicted this. They predict everything. But this is a different topic, but I just don't think it's needed in boxing, and we do need human error in sports. It's a part of sports.
Hmm.
But I vote to have AI in baseball. When it I do I'm still mad about 2017. It's been year. I'm never going to get over it. And that's the only sport I kind of really want to see it in. I don't think we need it in basketball. I think we have enough replays in every angle in football. And you know,
We
here
have we have so many replays in basketball, and like it's just honestly it kills the game. The fact that we have like more, like we're getting off topic now, so we'll move it along to the next boxing thing on our docket. But like I think too much can be bad also. So we'll see how it does. We'll see if it has like a fair scorecard. They're probably gonna eventually, like, there's going to be a fight where it's just gonna be strictly AI judges because they're not gonna want to pay actual judges. And like maybe this is what it ultimately boils down to, as you said. It's like maybe this is a way that people are gonna look at to replace judges, which you could say that the judges may have brought this upon themselves with controversial decision after controversial decision, but I also think maybe it's the way fights are scored and the fact that 3 might not be a large enough pool. Like, I actually think you might need 5 judges instead, you know, but that's another discussion for another day.
I think we only need 3 judges, and I think we need 3 human judges. Like, I don't think we need AI in boxing, but I guarantee you this is the first time we're going to see it, and this is not the last.
Hmm.
We're going to continue to see it. And listen, guys, after this fight happens, we're probably going to come back and do some other stuff, obviously, because we got some things planned. But we want to know how you feel about the AI, because it is going to change the sport regardless. And we're going to continue to see it in everything, in every aspect that we do. Brian, I think we'll get to some comments and then we'll move on, because I think we've covered this a little bit enough. Let's go to Ryan
A
Hong,
lot
because
enough.
yeah. This AI judge won't know shit about boxing. It's gonna be a massive dud. Ryan Hung, I don't know. Like, I don't even know what to expect, Ryan. I think there's a possibility it's bad, but I think that's why they're testing it out, right?
Yeah, and also I'm sure there's some sort of, like, who is this for? There's some sort of partnership or whatever the case may be. Like, there's going to be some deal that we don't know about as to why this is happening.
It's gonna be like AI sponsored by Monster Energy Drink or some shit. Like no distant Monster. If you want to sponsor us, cool. Ryan Hong, this AI judge is programmed by Turk to convince the public that Fury won the fight, even after he gets stopped by Usyk, so that people buy the trilogy.
A lot of people think Turk is in the bag for Tyson Fury. A lot of people
Yeah,
think that on social media, especially given the little corny FaceTime call that the three of them had, them two and Usyk, and it looked like he, was telling Usyk, oh, like don't count out Tyson Fury, whatever. I don't know. I expect some shenanigans. That's why I'm not betting no $100 or $50 or even $20 on Oleksandr Usyk. I'm not doing it.
no, the only guy I'm betting $100 on is yeah, no, it's not this fight. It's definitely not this fight.
Shakur Stevenson.
No, I
No,
don't
you
think
like Kid Austin. Never mind.
I do, but I think Shakur's gonna beat him.
Yeah.
Like, come on, Shakur's that good.
There's your
Ryan,
preview for the main event on February 22nd.
Ryan Hung, Fury is more shot than Broner, but unlike Broner, still has the heart. Yeah, like I still think Tyson Fury can win any fight. Like if it was him and Anthony Joshua, I'd pick Fury.
I'd pick him against every heavyweight in the world except for Oleksandr Usyk.
That's how good Usyk is.
And I think he could still beat Usyk, but I don't know where he's at. You know what I mean? He was blasted at a pub one of the last times we saw him before this press run. So falling
Jesus,
on his face.
Fury must use a lot of jabs, push Usyk back, then go light on his feet to change it up, go to the body. Yeah, he for sure has to do that. I
He
think
was
he has to
doing that
move
last
around.
time.
And he looked good doing it. It's just like, can he do it for an extended amount of time? And when it comes to conditioning, how is he going to look? I think this fight, and we know how good Usyk's conditioning is. Like that guy could fight like 14 rounds. Like he could do whatever he wants.
20,
Yeah,
honestly.
he's that good. So I think conditioning is important, but I also think that Tyson Fury still got some of that power, right? Like you never know what's going to happen in boxing.